My name is Joseph Maposa and I'm a 27-year-old professional boxer. I think with professional boxing, you have to be very dedicated, you have to be very consistent. There's a lot of things that you have to sort of sacrifice. It's a really tough sport and I don't think people realise how much you have to sort of give away. The dream I'm chasing, definitely to be number one in my weight category. We all aspire to reach the top of the game really, and there's no higher place than being world champion. I grew up in a small town in Zimbabwe. It wasn't a good way of life. My father decided to move the whole family over to the UK. We were so lucky and blessed to have the opportunity to change our lives. I was always involved in a lot of sport as a young kid. There was a boxercise class that used to take place and I decided to go down one time, and as soon as I put the gloves on and started hitting the bags, started hitting the mitts, I really enjoyed it. Even the coaches, they were really sort of amazed at how quick I was learning and picking things up. They recommended me to a registered amateur boxing club, and as soon as I went there, I never looked back. Family means everything to me. They're the ones that motivate me to keep going every single day, because I want to give them all the things that I necessarily never had as a kid. True happiness, that's the definition of success to me. Right now I'm thinking of going into clothing and just getting my name out there. When I'm training, I like materials that feel good on me. I thought it's a no-brainer, why don't I try something and put my own brand onto it? There's a lot of things that I can take away from my boxing career and use into business. Always being one step ahead, being hard-working, dedicated, and just being resilient. Owning a business has definitely taught me that just be patient. The more you put into it, the more you'll get back. You just have to keep going, and in the end, it will pay off.
Hello and good morning. It's Friday the 18th of November 2022. My name is Steve Pugh, and every Friday morning I do a live stream here on LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and lots of other kind of platforms. And what we do is that we have a business course called the Roadmap MBA. Basically what we are trying to do is make business education accessible to 5 billion people. That actually we now have a new platform which launched last week, which actually the point is that anyone in the world can go on to roadmapmba.com and learn really good practical skills to help you grow your business or career completely for free. What we're essentially trying to do is help communities around the world build a better life for themselves, and in some ways have all the stuff that I wished I had when I was kind of growing up. But the point is, it's really difficult to actually learn the skills to help grow your business or put food on the table. And actually, it's my belief that a lot of the existing providers actually price people out the market on cost, the time required, the academic grades required, or actually if it's just not relevant to the people that I think that they're trying to kind of communicate to. Good morning, Simon. If you comment on the feed, and ironically, Simon, this is just a glitch to do with LinkedIn. On the company feed, it doesn't pop up, but on any of the other channels it does. And if you comment, it does pop up on the screen here. And I do genuinely love it when people get involved as well, because often it can be a lonely thing, stood up and presenting for half an hour or so. But actually the whole point of the live streams on Fridays is to just share information and stuff that we've done through the week. I've had loads of stuff go wrong recently, and even just this morning, because the whole point of me being honest about how things go is because if you also have setbacks yourself, it's not just you, it happens to everyone. We broadcast onto Instagram normally, and for whatever reason, the Mac Mini that I use to send our portrait video to Instagram, the mouse wouldn't work, and this was 5 minutes ago. So I just decided not to broadcast that this morning. But the point is, stuff always goes wrong. It goes wrong for me. It probably go wrong for you. But the trick is not to let it get you down, and it is what it is. It's just something we all kind of deal with. So today is also Black Friday. It's my first time ever trying to do any form of Black Friday offer or deal. So if you use the code BF2022, you'll get 30% off everything in the store. But the truth is, you can have completely free access to all of the course materials and everything as well, completely for free. You go on, create an account, and that's all kind of cool. But with the paid tiers, basically you get your physical books, you get some carbon offset, you get the ability to donate digital courses to help up to 40 people around the world, and some other kind of stuff too, in addition to the kind of CPD certificate. But the whole point is, with the paid members, what we want to do is give you really, good value for what you choose to kind of pay for, because not only does it help a lot of other people, otherwise would never have access to this kind of information, but we also do the live classroom sessions 4 times a week. So we do Tuesday 3 p.m, Tuesday 8 p.m, Thursday 7 a.m, and also midday Friday. And the idea is, because this to me is the most valuable bit, is that for your own business or career, it's great to have the information to go on and learn about sales or learn about strategy, but what we really need to do is work on the implementation for, how do you implement that in your actual business or career? And that's something we do on the live classroom sessions, because you can ask questions. It's a two-way thing over Zoom, but the whole point is you can actually kind of make a real impact quicker. And that's why we kind of do that as well. I also want to say hello to Rana as well. He had his pack arrive in Pakistan yesterday, which is quite cool. I shipped it 2 weeks ago, I think. But the point is, we're in 35 countries around the world now. And actually the whole point is to help support people that don't have access to traditional business education. If you can afford to go to Harvard Business School or Durham or whichever, it's brilliant. Honestly, do it. It's one of the best things you'll ever do. But the truth is 97% of the world's population do not have access to traditional business education. Plus the stuff that they can get on Udemy, Skillshare, YouTube isn't necessarily as good as it could be. Plus there's a massive issue with overwhelm, that where do you start? Because if you go into Skillshare and they do 200,000 courses, which one do you pick, in what order? And actually they are expensive. As well with the roadmap, we literally just have one course, it's one book, it's one site, and it's one program. And actually, yes, you can pick and choose the stuff that you might read or not. But the point is, it's all in one place, it's nice and easy, and you can learn in as quick as 2 minutes as well. So that's who we are, that's what we do. It's 9:06 here in the UK. And then what I always joke that this is just practice for me. It's just nobody really watches the live streams, but it's practice to articulate more about the mission and what we're trying to do, and also interact with people that might always, especially post-lockdown, we've lost a real element of human connection that actually I think people miss, I miss. So it's just a way to say hello, have a bit of interaction, which really kind of helps me as well. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is actually this week, over the past week, stuff that I've done. So I attended something called TEDx Newcastle on Saturday last week. So it's run by a guy called Herb Kim. And what you do, and you probably know the concept of TED, is that you go to a venue. This was held at the Sage in Gateshead, which is a really fabulous venue. It's like a big concert hall, but a very modern one. And I think there was about 1,000 people there. I think there was about 10 different speakers set up into 3 different tranches. So there was the morning one, then there was a break for lunch, then there was an afternoon one, bit of a break, and then the last one. And I must admit, I'd watched TED Talks for probably about 10 years, but I'd never actually been to a proper TED event. Ashley King, that presents on this channel, she was in charge of TEDx Newcastle University. So actually I'd watched the digital version of TEDx Newcastle University during lockdown, but obviously I couldn't attend in person because it was virtual. But actually it was really fascinating to both go to and just get a vibe for the whole place, because I wasn't sure what the audience would be. But actually the speakers themselves, there was about 10 different speakers, all really good people, all speaking on different kind of topics. The ones which resonated the most with me were people that shared their own personal story, and there was a real mission. Some of them were better than others, but actually one was on loss and grief, and actually that was really heartfelt, because actually for anyone that's been through tough times and had family members die, we're not taught what is the process, what to expect, and and just knowing that and hearing that in a talk and why that's important was really kind of important. We had Catherine Copeland, who's a former GB rower who won Olympic gold. Just her journey, and actually her journey up until London 2012 when she actually won. So she won gold, but also after Rio when I think she came 14th. And almost for her, when she actually won Olympic gold, and you do hear this quite a lot, it was a big anticlimax, because she always thought that her life would change and it would be everything she ever wanted. And the truth is, a week or so later, her life was exactly the same. And actually, I think that's true for a lot of people, especially if you start a business or you have 2 defined targets. I'm a big fan of boxing, and Tyson Fury found this, that when he finally beat Vladimir Klitschko to become world champion, yeah, he actually went through and spiraled into mental health issues just because he didn't know what was next. And that's something that I worry about with business, is that we all have these aims, goals and desires to aim for a certain thing, maybe to grow a business, at some point exit for £100 million. But the issue is, what would you do the week after? And I know Simon Sinek calls it his infinite game, but I think it's a really valid point that actually we all have stuff that we think we want to achieve. But if it's too defined, if it's a finite game where essentially there is a finish line, if we survive past that finish line, what do you do next? And I think it was really interesting because I personally have massive respect for athletes, that I trust her, that what she said was her true lived experience. And actually, yeah, it's one to really ponder, because when we talk about business growth and career success and that kind of thing, but the truth is, what is the end goal? And I know this is what we cover in module 1 on the actual course, but it's really important do you grow the company and sell it for £100 million, or do you purposely never exit because you never actually want to get off the treadmill, because it might be a loss of meaning and stuff for your life? But if you've ever felt anything like this, please kind of let me know in the comments. But it was just a fascinating day. And then there was lots of other people that kind of spoke throughout the day. There was also Heather Mills kind of closed the show at kind of 4:30. And what was really interesting about Heather, and I have seen her speak before, it's just the sheer hard work and resilience for someone who, she shared her story. She was homeless at 14, 15, went through a tough time, moved to London. And actually she's just really grafted, really worked hard for the past 40 years, I guess, to build something that, yes, she had a famous partner for a while and, that kind of thing. But actually the work that she's done both on disability, on launching businesses, but also causes that she didn't have to do any of this, a lot to do with food. And she runs a company called V-Bites, which is a vegan kind of food thing, but also helping disabled limbs be distributed across different parts of the world. And actually she's just run really incredible stuff. It's a story of kind of trouble and strife and setbacks, and when people say you're not good enough and you can't possibly do that, but then actually when she comes good and she comes through, people always want to take advantage. One example she gave, actually, she's a very good skier, and she wanted to enter the Olympics. And basically she designed her own prosthetic leg, which just meant that if she crashed, it wouldn't break her leg, it would clip off. And, she was told by the Olympic bodies, no, when you're not allowed to enter, it's not legit. We don't agree with your design. So she couldn't enter the Olympics. And then like 2 weeks after the Olympics had been and gone, they wanted the design. And it proved the whole point of how the system, to me, can be fickle. And I believe her when she says it. I think, as a person, she's not everyone's cup of tea. And, some people think that she's too abrasive or whatever, but I have massive respect for anyone that's been through adversity like that and just keeps going, that you would certainly want her on your team if, you're in business with someone. And I just love stories like that, which is quite cool. Elsewhere this week, I went to an event on Tuesday called the Marketing Meetup here in Newcastle. And one of my weaknesses is that I tend to knuckle down and work really hard, but I don't really network as much as I could or I should, which is funny because some of my colleagues do the opposite. But anyway, so I thought, well, actually, I had a break. So I went to the Marketing Meetup in a place called Tuss Park in Newcastle. And there was a lady called Mandy that spoke from somewhere called Sale Creative, and it was all about running a business with real passion and purpose. And it was just wonderful to hear from someone where there was no agenda. She wasn't trying to show off. She wasn't trying to make herself look good, but actually just talking about what's important to her, why it's important to her, the kind of clients that she wants to work with, and actually not just playing everyone else's game. So if she wants to run a business with 4 people, that's what she's going to do. And she runs a small boutique specialist branding agency based out of somewhere called Eusburn here in Newcastle. But it was just really refreshing to hear. And then likewise at the event, I also got to meet in person various people that I'd never met in person before. So, the last 2-3 years have all been online. And actually there's loads of people that I've spoke to, even interviewed on the podcast and stuff. But until you actually meet someone in person, it's a different dynamic. So it was great to catch up with those guys as well. I saw Chris Owens there, who's a fabulous photographer. And actually this afternoon, rain permitting, I'm actually doing a photo shoot with Chris as well. For me, branded photography is arguably the most important thing that you will ever spend money on for a business. because actually every single interaction with your LinkedIn profile and or social media profiles, the chances are they're going to see the photo that you choose to put up. And if you put up a really professional, good, solid photo, it makes a big difference. And as my first business was photography, I have a massive passion for the topic, that I respect Chris's craft and style. So that's what I kind of wanted to do. And last but not least is, I guess, there's Cristiano Ronaldo, who had an issue this week, shall we say. This is always the thing that essentially, if you work in a business, there will always be personal conflicts between you and other people. The challenge often is, as the manager or as the boss, is how can you mitigate these? How can you work with different people? Because you don't want it to bubble over. But also there's a human nature thing that when people lose face, it's very difficult to come back from. So if, for instance, there was these behind the scenes issues in the dressing room within the team, that probably happens all day, every day in sports teams around the world. And the point is, when it's not public, you can deal with it, you can work forward, because essentially the goal should be the success of the team, not any one kind of issue. When Cristiano Ronaldo has gone out and done his interview at Piers Morgan and broadcasts his dirty laundry, all of his feelings on different topics, what he's done is that even if it was all true, which I'm sure it was, he's sabotaged a relationship with the team. He's sabotaged his trust and confidences with his manager and everyone else. There's now no way back from that. But if you go too public with your hand grenade that you choose to throw to talk about a certain issue, there will be other teams that might have wanted to work with him that now won't, because they worry about, actually, would he do the same to us? And I believe it's tainted his character, that until very recently, he was always seen as the absolute professional. But actually now some of the issues have started to come through, and this relates identically to Elon Musk and Twitter as well. So Elon Musk, prior to the Twitter acquisition, was the savior of humanity. You got SpaceX, you got Tesla, all this fabulous stuff. Everyone loves him. Brilliant. He comes into Twitter, and bear in mind, Twitter was losing £4 million a day. If he bought the company, which he now has, the changes that he's wanted to make, and actually he just needs to make it profitable again. He's now enemy number one and people hate him. And the irony is that I believe that he is just trying to do the right thing and trying to help that organization be successful. But the point is, he's toyed with and played with and interacted with something that people genuinely love. They've taken it personally. All of the press has got out about staff layoffs and cuts. But keep in mind that almost every major tech provider in the past 3 months has laid off an equal amount of people, if not more. Facebook, Microsoft, everyone. But in a PR way, it's turned into an absolute disaster. Again, it's when the hero becomes the villain, which I know is a classic kind of Batman term. But it's just, this is live, real stuff that's happening now. And again, what it does, it proves from a management consultancy point of view, even if on an acquisition that you have the perfect strategy, that you know how to turn that round, the human element of actually dealing with people to make something happen is actually the most important bit. That it's much better to deal with the human emotions and personalities and have a less good strategy, than have the perfect strategy and make an absolute hash of the interactions with people. And that's kind of what's happened with both Cristiano and Elon as well this week. And then last but not least, I am conscious that I've been talking for a little bit, is the Qatar World Cup, which starts on Saturday, I believe. I'm really in two minds about this, because the human rights issues, the massive issues with LGBT community and the fact that it's illegal to be gay over there, I hate. But also when we're trying to bring people more inclusive into the global community, because the way to actually help change people is to listen to them and actually show them that there is a better way. That if we simply exclude certain people from the group and being allowed to play, we're never going to be able to make change. But then again, I also hate various other things. This again comes down to the Joe Lycett, if you've seen it, where he was going to shred £10,000 in protest that if David Beckham, who apparently took £10 million from the Qatari government to help promote the World Cup. And David was always seen as a gay icon, that actually he's kind of betrayed people that associate with him, and he doesn't need the money. And I think it's stuff like that, and brands and celebrities and also various teams. I get that the players can't let their team or their country down, but certainly brands and celebrities, it's an endorsement of stuff that I think maybe that's a step too far, but it's also very difficult to justify. But it's also a personal kind of choice. Rightly so, someone made the point online that they don't tell us not to drink alcohol because it's bad for your health, which we all know it is. So again, it's different cultures where there is a clash, and nobody is necessarily right or wrong. It's just different, and if that kind of makes sense, but it's a very hot topic. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the UK budget. So yesterday here in the UK, I sat at 11:30 for about an hour and watched the UK autumn budget get announced by Jeremy Hunt. So in the UK, we have the Conservative government, and it was their round to basically try and correct the economy after the hash of what happened with Kwasi Kwarteng and Liz Truss. And everyone was on tenterhooks about what was going to be said, because actually Jeremy Hunt had said several times in the media it was going to be eye-watering cuts. So everyone was expecting huge tax rises, huge cutbacks on education and the military and that kind of thing. And also one of the big things which happened with the original Kwasi Kwarteng and Liz Truss budget a month ago was that they just surprised everyone with it. And one of the big reasons why they were actually both fired was it spooked the markets. It was unexpected, and in finance, people do not like unexpected stuff that they don't know is coming. So what was really interesting is that nothing bad was announced that people didn't already know about. And one of the things which I think was a big shock, but it's just politics, is they actually increased spending on a lot of different areas, from the NHS to schools. Yes, they did bring in taxes, but on the higher earners, which I know is popular for a lot of people. But the real cuts, the real pain is actually hidden until 2026, 2027, 2028, which is when that will come in. The reason why I think that's a bit of a cop-out is because I think the Conservative government know that they're probably not going to be in power in 2026, 2027, 2028. That actually when you backload all of the pain to cover inflation and different things, which is the justification, so they can make the cuts now, but the way to pay for that, they've pushed onto the next government, which will almost certainly be a Labour government. They haven't had to suffer their own pain, and it's a very sneaky way that actually people won't feel as bad over the next 2 years, because actually the cuts haven't been as bad, they've backloaded them. But it's just passing on the problem to someone else. And I kind of don't like that. I think it's just something that, yes, it's the nature of politics. And yes, I get that people should hold each other to account. But actually token spending on stuff, which is to improve education, improve our NHS, which I do love and I appreciate. But actually pushing all the big cuts to the next parliament is sneaky. And it was just something that, a lot of people will still be impacted by the freeze on different things. And likewise, they are also increasing the national minimum wage. So they're actually doing quite a lot, which is the nice stuff, which will in theory get them votes. But the fact that they're not actually dealing with the pain, they're just making it someone else's problem. For me, that's not the way to do it. But, I'm not a politician, I'm not the Chancellor, but it's just something which does affect millions of people. And actually, it was something that came up yesterday. It's a key part of all of our lives. That relating to that as well, with the increase in national minimum wage and also inflation and different things, there will be genuinely millions of businesses who are worried about paying for people's bills and paying staff wages, because actually they're not necessarily profitable as we are. That will make it worse when that comes into force. And actually, the big worry is that people lose their jobs, and actually it all kind of gets worse. It's a very difficult one to talk about. I'd love to know in the comments, or if you see this on YouTube or whichever, let me know in the comments your thoughts on the whole thing. And again, it's just something that it's a difficult one to deal with. I think what they've done from the Conservative Party point of view is clever, because it means that people are less likely to associate the austerity and pain with themselves because they pushed it back. But also it's a bit shady, and I'm not a huge fan that they've just made it someone else's problem for whoever wins the next election. Good morning to my friends in Thailand. How are you? How's your week been? And also I do genuinely appreciate when you get in touch. So Apicorn, thank you for that. Okay. Ah, so a hot topic for a lot of people is cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency for probably about 10 years now has been a really hot topic that people talk about how it can revolutionize the banking system. It's decentralized money, there's less oversight, it's super secure, and actually there are 200 different types of coin and token that you can buy, which in theory have value, with Bitcoin being the most famous one. This week there was a big announcement. So there's a company called FTX who essentially went bust. And the really sneaky thing that when I've been trying to kind of keep track of it, the guy who launched it had, I think it was like $16 billion worth of token at the current market rate. And within his company and exchange, they had, I think, $36 billion worth of tokens. So what that means is that for people around the world, he's got $36 billion, I guess, of other people's money, which value is stored within his exchange and some of his tokens. So one of the issues with crypto is because there's no oversight, there's no tracking, there's no anything, that money is now disappeared. So there are real people around the world where they're actually money and everything that they thought they had just doesn't exist anymore. But also the governance and stuff within his company, from what I read or saw on Bloomberg yesterday, there was a lot of loans where him and his friends and people that worked in the company were taking loans with real tangible stuff for houses, cars, whichever, based against the assets in the company, but essentially it's other people's money, that now all the money's gone. There's a potential failure in crypto that actually this will impact other exchanges, but also most importantly, just trust in the whole thing. That I know that I have money in UK bank accounts. We have the Bank of England, but also HSBC, who I bank with. It's very unlikely that they will just disappear and that my money will just disappear overnight. And one of the big issues which comes with crypto because of the lack of transparency is that this FTX kind of scandal will just impact people's confidence that even if the technology was getting better and people were starting to see the value in it, when things like this happen, it does argue that, you know, if you're someone that's put your life savings into Bitcoin and then suddenly overnight it's all just gone, you're probably not very happy and you probably want some accountability to get your money back. But the issue is for how crypto is currently run, we don't have that. And the question then raises is, do we actually need regulated cryptocurrencies? But then does that defeat the whole object? And it was just because this is something which has come up this week, which is mega super topical, I just wanted to talk about. And actually, I'd love to know for you, has the FTX failure really impacted your confidence in crypto? Do you still do it? What do you invest your money in and why? Why do you pick Dogecoin as different to Bitcoin or any of the others? I think realistically for me, I can see the benefit in blockchain technology. I can see how this can be used for good over time. But the worry, and there have been various people who are very prevalent in the industry talking about how it's actually like a Ponzi scheme. It's almost, it feels like a bit of a scam at the moment that people haven't quite figured out that could be legit. But when people abuse the system and don't play it fairly, I think it's that which actually damages kind of confidence as well. But if you see this on YouTube or any of the platforms, please let me know in the comments your thoughts. I'd love to know your thoughts on the different issues. And then likewise, what do you think this could roll through to impact other organizations and stuff as well? Because actually, I think this isn't the end of the story. Okay. So last but not least today, I wanted to talk about something called Purple Sock Day. So this is a fantastic organization that I'm looking to support. And basically Purple Sock Day is all about celebrating the International Day of Persons with Disabilities on the 3rd of December. It's a company called Parallel Lifestyles who I'm kind of working with. And the whole point of all the money that raised from buying some incredible kind of socks. And these sell for £6 a pair. I bought 24 pairs and I've given most of them away now. But the whole point is actually, it's to help raise money for disabled entrepreneurs and people in the community that want to start and launch their own business, hence the obvious link with the roadmap. And actually for the £6, half of all the profit goes exactly to that kind of charity as well. With Andrew, Ali and the team, I'm hoping to be supporting them with lots of different stuff in the future. And then likewise, with some free courses, I think I've donated 40 for this round and this year's Purple Sock Day on the 3rd of December. But actually, I've put a link in the comments, so please kind of get involved and check it out if you're interested. It's a really fantastic cause. It's a great way to actually kind of help people, but they're also really cool and comfortable as well. So it was just something that I wanted to kind of talk about and mention whilst I could. Hi James, I guess this is about crypto. It won't affect my confidence. You just need to make sure that you do your research on what exchange you use and don't, and leave your currency on the exchange and put it in your own ledger so you have control of it. Yeah, cool. It's a really interesting one actually, that with FTX themselves used, who did he use? Tom Brady, Shaquille O'Neal, and they use loads of A-list celebrities to endorse and advertise their product. I think because of that, it's then the trust and the social proof thing. I know loads of companies do that, but people will have bought into the brand and basically the entity based on the endorsements, because that's just kind of how marketing was. And again, who do you trust, who do you not? Because actually until it goes under, how do you know if one isn't legit or not? But it's a genuine interest and topic, because actually I don't have any crypto myself. I know friends that do. I decided to basically, obviously all my money goes into the business. That's just what I've done. But genuinely, thank you for the comment. I'm always interested in what people kind of want to talk about. Yeah, so actually I think that's about it for me. I've mentioned about our Black Friday offer and deal, which is the first one that we've ever done, which is the code BF2022, where basically it's 30% off everything. This is again how we pay it forward. So this is how we help people in 35 countries like Rana in Pakistan to basically help people build a better life for themselves. And actually, if you want to get involved, you can, but if you don't, if you go to roadmapmba.com, you can complete and create a completely free account to get access to all the new wonderful stuff in the back end, which is great. And hopefully the app will be coming soon too. For me, we're starting to plan the next phase of the business now. So the app is under development and will be coming soon. We've got some improvements for the current service and what we're looking to do. And actually, I'm quite looking forward to 2023, just for the challenge of trying to do various different things. I appreciate your help and support as always. I'd always love it when people kind of tune in. At 9:32, I think I'm going to call it quits here today. But genuinely, thank you for anyone that joined in. These all get clipped up and go onto YouTube as well. And then likewise, if you're ever interested in the course, if you go to roadmapmba.com, you can get access to everything for free on there. Just create a free account. Or if you want to apply for the actual book and some of the extra stuff, we also have the guest list as well. So that's guest list at roadmapmba.com. So thank you for your time. Have a wonderful Friday. Have a great day. And I will speak to you soon. Cheers, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.